Hello everybody and welcome to the cool Colorado mountains on a lovely summer morning. I am Chase, your host, and this is the Overrun. Now, rather than just telling you how many horsepower and pounds-feet of torque this engine makes, I want to kind of give it its due because it's really a bit of a centerpiece. This is the 3-cylinder turbocharged motor from the Toyota GR Yaris, which started life in WRC, that's right, the World Rally Championship. Now, this is kind of the last car standing as far as those WRC homologation specials go. There's obviously the GR Yaris, which we don't get in America. The STI is dead for now. So is the Evo and has been for quite a long time. And well, before that, there were really very few mainstream production vehicles that were derived directly from the WRC. Now, that said, this makes 310 horsepower, and I've forgotten the torque figure. It is 273 pound-feet of torque. Now, obviously that's down a little bit on torque from the Type R and the Type S, but that's okay because this makes up for it with standard four-wheel drive. And not only that, but selectable four-wheel drive. You can select the four-wheel drive split on this car. You can choose between 60-40 front, 50-50 in track mode, and 70-30 front and rear. Now that's extremely special, extremely uncommon in any performance car at almost any price level. You have to really be in some very serious motorsports derived or straight up racing vehicles to get those kind of features. And that is really what sets the GR Corolla apart from the competition. Well, that and the ridiculous exhaust note. Welcome to the inside of the GR Corolla. This is the core model, as I mentioned, and this is definitely the place where this car feels the most, well, to use Toyota's nomenclature, core. Really what that means is that it's quite cheap in here. This felt headliner is more plastic than felt. The dash is this sort of weird, hard touch, fake leather thing. I guess there's some nice stitching in it. You can tell that there's a lot of bits that are just lifted straight from the base model Corolla. For example, the infotainment stack, a lot of the center console sans armrest. I assume that's because when you go to shift, you don't want to be banging your arm into the center console that's normally there. Still, I might appreciate one, but there's also a physical handbrake down here, which is quite nice, and something that a lot of other performance cars don't really have. It's something that Toyota actually really prioritizes in its GR models. Let's move on to, speaking of things that are a little bit more GR focused. The wheel is GR Corolla specific, as is the 6-speed manual transmission, which is quite lovely. We'll talk more about that in the driving impressions. There is, of course, our little selectable four-wheel drive switchy deal down here. And these seats, which are very comfortable. However, I think that some people might have a little bit of an issue with them, and that's because there is no lumbar adjustment. There is only the tilt on the seat and the height. I actually don't know off the top of my head if that's added into higher trim levels, but it's definitely something that you'll want to keep in mind. Now, that said, you can make this interior quite a lot nicer. The Core and Morizo models, supposing you can get your hand on the latter, are much nicer inside. There's some leather, some Alcantara. Things are a little bit more upscale in here. Now, as for the things that actually work really well in here, let's start with the tech. There's a full digital gauge cluster. There's also this little screeny deal here. It's beeping at me because it knows that I'm still in the car. Some of the safety features will warn you if there's oncoming traffic, etc. But that's irrelevant. The tech. Now, The digital gauge cluster offers a number of little configurable presets. I've heard some people say that this isn't quite as configurable as they'd like it to be. I actually think that it's just enough. I have two presets. I have my sort of sporty driving, go fasty, hot boy mode, and that's got some additional gauges on the right-hand side. In the center, I have a gear indicator so that I know what gear I'm in, just in case we don't want to miss a gear. That would be expensive. And then on my left-hand side, I've got all of my tire pressures. It's nice to have that, especially if you're going to drive this car year-round. You can kind of monitor your tire pressures over the winter and with different sets of wheels, etc., as long as you have compatible sensors, of course. Now, I want to talk about the center screen. This is the latest version of Toyota's infotainment. You'll find this in all of their new models that are coming out, including the Land Cruiser, which was just debuted yesterday, actually. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about this infotainment system, which is usable. There is a USB-C port down under here that you can use for phone mirroring, like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. I have had some mild connectivity issues. I've tried a couple different cables. I have one cable where it works better than the other cable, so I suspect it may have something to do with that. But I've also heard the same complaint from other journalists that have driven this, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. There's another USB-C back here on the, I don't know what to call that, it's not an armrest anymore, but there's also a 12-volt back there too. All of that can be used to charge and keep things going while you use the infotainment, which is relatively responsive to your touch. It's certainly miles better than the old Corolla infotainment system. The old Corolla infotainment system was about 47 years old when it came out, and, well, it just got older. So this is, by contrast, awesome. The map works really well. Everything is great. Your touch sensitivity, is great. Everything responds to your touch very well, and it responds relatively quickly. There is just a hint of lag on some menus, especially like some of the more intense ones. You'll notice like tabbing back and forth between like the maps and different settings, or your phone settings if you don't use phone mirroring. That is kind of an issue, but other than that, it's a very modern infotainment system. I also like the positioning of it. If I'm sitting here, the top of the infotainment screen is just below the windscreen, which is great for visibility and safety and etc. It makes me feel like I'm really in a cockpit. I can see the map in my periphery from the front view, or looking forward rather, so that's very nice. I really appreciate that about this interior. Ergonomically, it's very, very nice. You have the physical handbrake that I haven't been able to shut up about. It's very easy to shift gears and operate the clutch. Ergonomically, this interior is really 98% of the way there. Now, I say 98 because I have a single performance-related foible that I want to get to before we get to the driving impressions, and that is how easy it is to heel-toe, downshift, and rev match. For whatever reason, this is a common item in the GR86 as well. I don't know if it's my build, my foot size, what. It's kind of hard for me to get my foot over to that pedal. It feels kind of like the pedals are like this, like my brake pedal is all the way up here, and my accelerator pedal is all the way down there. I feel like I have to really pivot my foot to get that little blip of the throttle. Having the car in sports mode kind of tightens up the throttle response a little bit, so that helps because it needs less of a blip, but it's definitely something that I have noticed, and is something to keep in mind if some Toyota dealer maybe lets you test drive one of these. We all know that any of the cars we're talking about are not going to be had for MSRP in all likelihood, and we're just going to ignore that for the sake of this review. Now, with that said, let's get to what really matters about this car, and that is the fact that it makes you want to drive like a complete and utter hooligan.
Yeah! Welcome back to the inside of the GR Corolla, which is now moving at significantly more pace. Let's talk about how this thing drives. It is, in a word, fantastic. You want to look like this when you drive it. You want to act like this when you drive it. It is absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. It is so good. Now, let's just run through the list of automotive cliches that we can hit about this car. The steering is, as our friends across the pond might say, gossamer light. It is hyper precise, extremely direct, perfectly weighted. I even like the weighting in sport mode, which does add just a little bit of heft. I have a custom preset where I make it even lighter because that's how I like my steering. I like this car to feel like it has very light steering because that's how I imagine WRC cars feel. Now, the throttle, extremely linear, direct. Again, it's got this great peaky turbocharged feel to it. This big like rubber band, this 3-cylinder rubber band that is just catapulting you across the asphalt with extreme prejudice and grip. It is insane the amount of lean that you can put into this car in a corner. And on top of that, you can brake, put it up onto its toes, downshift a gear, and just nail it. And let that 4-wheel drive system really power you out of the corner. I can even change gear mid-corner there. I mean, there is so much grip from these Michelins. It's absolutely incredible the amount of tolerance that this car has for abuse. I mean, if this weren't a car, I might say that it has battered spouse syndrome. It is absolutely insane how much abuse you can throw at this thing. You can launch it, you can brake stand, you can do big smoky drifts if you really, really try hard on a piece of, that was a fox. That was an entire fox. It's a good thing he was still an entire fox. We almost hit him. Or what rate? Oh, abuse, right. Let's talk about abuse more. I mean, it's just insane the amount of work that you can get this car to do for you. And it makes you want to behave like a hooligan every day. And that is what is so great about driving it. Now I want to dedicate just a little bit more time to slow things down, talk about the transmission. Because as fun as it is to just absolutely cane this thing, I need a little time to articulate to you how good this 6-speed manual transmission is. It is probably one of the better ones in new cars that I have driven. I have driven the manual transmission that is fundamentally in the Integra Type S and the Civic Type R, which is to say the 6-speed that Honda puts in there. It's absolutely fantastic. It, like this, is one of the best manuals on the market. I would probably have to have the two side by side though to really give you guys an accurate verdict. They are both extremely good. Now, the shifts on this are super tight, really precise. The knob is perfectly weighted, phrasing. It's just right where you need it to be. You're able to very easily go down into the gears, go up, do everything that you need to do to ensure that this transmission and that power band is where you need it to be. Now, of course, the engine is really the star of the show here, as I talked about a little bit earlier. It's just the best thing about this car. It sounds incredibly unique. It sounds so strange at idle. It has that 3-cylinder tractor ticka 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 thing. It really is. Did we see that, everyone? Did we see the camouflage car that rolled by? I'm gonna try and slow that down. That was a Lamborghini Urus in full camo. They're probably up here doing some high altitude testing. We're at about 10,000 feet. We've got a lot of distractions on our little route today, don't we? Anyways, where was I? The engine. It's just so good. Now, there is a little bit of turbo lag, and frankly, I wouldn't have it any other way. The turbo lag is kind of what makes this engine. It's not super present, but you definitely feel that additional shove at about 3,000 RPM. It's like VTEC or a higher cam profile, I mean, or just that quintessential rally car turbo whoosh of forward motion. And on top of that, that like turbo adds so much noise and occasion. In sport mode, this car makes these great little, it's constantly talking to you. There is this dialogue between yourself and the transmission and the turbo and the engine and the suspension that just is so incredible. I talked a little bit earlier about how cheap the interior feels, and to be completely honest, I'm totally okay with it. at this price point because I know where the money went. The money went to the engineering. It went to this rally homologated powertrain. A rally homologated powertrain, man! Isn't that great? In 2023, Toyota is putting out manual transmission sports cars with rally homologated powertrains. And also ones that eat RTV into the oil pickup and probably have some other oil issues that we're not gonna address here, because this car doesn't have any known issues yet. I've heard that people in the UK have had some problems with tuning them, but stock for stock, they're great. They're super stout, as they should be for the abuse that WRC cars take, right? Now, before we get to how this car is to live with and daily drivability and all of that, I want to talk about how the suspension feels up here on a nice twisty section of road with some real pace in the car. It's perfect. There is just a hint of body lean, which is what I would expect for this car. You know, rally car roots and pedigree and blah, 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 blah. That's what I want, you know, and it's very communicative. I know where the grip limits are between my butt, the old butt dyno, the old butt G-meter, the steering, and the suspension. I know what my grip levels are like at all times, which gives you fantastic confidence behind the wheel. You can brake, stand this car up onto its toes, and know that everything is going to work. And it's just so eager, too. Everything about this car makes it feel so eager and ready to go and just happy to be here. Let's run through another cliche, right? The dog on the leash, man. The thing is just, it just wants to go. It hates being below 3,000 RPM. I'm in fifth at 2,900 right now, and I keep, as I'm talking to you, bumping the RPMs up or gearing down or whatever to keep the engine above 3 grand, because that really is where it seems the most happy. Now, with that in mind, let's take off the hooligan glasses and talk about what a sensible daily driver this hatchback is supposed to be, or is billed as being, and find out just how it stacks up. Now that we are back on a slightly more sensible plane of being, I want to talk about how this car is to live with. Now, it's got good room in the back. Toyota says that you can fit 4 wheels and tires back there, which leaves you just a little bit of room for a jack stand, floor jack, and any other general track day accoutrement that you might need. That also means that it's probably going to be relatively practical. I fit all my filming gear in the back without a problem, but then again, I only have 2 backpacks to fit. It's really not that bad on the day-to-day to live with, storage capacity aside. I really think that this car is pretty usable. However, there is kind of a gripe, and that's why I stutter when I say that. My big gripe is kind of a nitpick, which is always the sign of a good car, right? It's that there is this kind of resonance at about 2,000 RPM. I tried to get it on the GoPro, and you can't hear it at all, but you can feel it and hear it when you're in the car. It's in first gear, 2,000 RPM on deceleration more than acceleration. It's just this whoa from the exhaust, and it's really nasty. And that is really my biggest complaint. If you have to park one of these in a parking garage like I do or something like that, it's definitely going to cause you kind of a headache whenever you go to park the car. It's just not super great. But I mean, it's not a big deal. The biggest boon to this car's daily drivability, to kind of literally switch gears here, is the IMT. That's what Toyota calls it. It's the brand's rev matching function for the manual transmission. There's a little button down here by my knee, and it rev matches your downshifts for you. And most importantly, it will do that while you are using the car's adaptive cruise control. That means that this is one of the easiest manuals to drive in traffic ever. It'll even rev match down to first if you need it to, though I obviously wouldn't recommend doing it at any real speed, just to be extra super safe. I'm sure a clutch on a niche homologated engine and transmission is probably not super cheap, but it means that it's great for drivability. Let's talk noise. There is quite a lot of road noise in here. I think if I owned one of these, shoot me, I might actually want to take the door cards off and put some sound insulation in them. It not only will get a little bit more sound quality out of this kind of mid JBL system, but it'll also kind of quiet the interior a bit. I may even be so inclined to throw a little bit up in the headliner if I were to own one of these. That said, it's not intolerable. A lot of the noise is just from the crappy tarmac that we have here in Colorado. It's midsummer and a lot of road work has been done, and even more road work hasn't been done. On the highway, this car is a little loud and boomy. Luckily, you can just turn up the stereo and kind of drown it out and know that, you know, what you're getting on the back end is a fantastic performance vehicle. These are the sacrifices that you have to make. If you go to your dealer after buying one of these and you say, hey, you know, I love the GR Corolla, I love the GR86, I love the GR Supra to a lesser extent. Not that I don't like the car, I just haven't driven it, so I don't want to speak on it. I love these products, it's just that they're just a little loud and they're a little too uncomfortable, man, and like, you know, I just prefer it to be a little more daily drivable, man. That is how you end up with a BMW M2 that weighs something like 3,800 pounds. When that car debuted in 2015, it weighed 3,400 pounds. For the love of God, don't let this car get fat by complaining about these things. They are factors in owning a sports car, in driving a sports car every day. It's just something you have to put up with. And it's really not that much to put up with. This car has so many great modern conveniences that make it easy to drive every day. It's practical, I can fit all my crap in the back, it has phone mirroring and projection, which I think is far superior to almost any infotainment software I might use in really any car. I've driven $300,000 Bentleys that don't do infotainment as well as Android Auto does. It's just the name of the game. It's got adaptive cruise control on top of all of that. It has Toyota safety sensing suite as standard, which of course means that all of Toyota's nice driver assistance features are here. It's got blind spot monitoring, it's got the adaptive cruise control, it's even got auto steer with lane keep assist. It will notify you of oncoming traffic as you exit the vehicle within a certain parameter. As we saw earlier, it will turn off if you're just sitting in your car for a while. It's got automatic emergency braking. These are all factors that make these cars so usable. Cars like the Civic Type R and like the Integra Type S, although that car is obviously much more a luxury car than this. Now, having not driven the other two, this is such a cop-out, but this is definitely my favorite of the three. And with that in mind, we're now going to get to the conclusion. We're going to kind of wrap things up with some final thoughts and discuss just a little bit more about the GR Corolla. So, the 2023 GR Corolla. This is probably one of those cars that we're going to look back on, and we're going to say, remember when. It's just hard to articulate how insurmountable the idea of a three-cylinder, four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, whatever you want to call it, rally car for the road, because I don't think that there's a better way to describe how this drives, was to anyone when the GR Yaris came out. Anyone in the United States looking across the ocean and saying, whew, bummer we're never going to get one of those. I remember looking at that car and going, all right, well, when those are 25 years old, I'll probably be able to swing one. Nobody will want one by then. They'll probably be breaking or all be modified or whatever. And, well, now all I have to do is just wait for depreciation to do its work. And depreciation can't do its work fast enough. I want one. I want one real bad. I think of any of the cars I've driven this year, the GR Corolla takes the cake. There's a reason that you see automotive media buying these. When you see the real nerds and freaks like me putting their money down, trying to get one, don't pay over sticker for one, by the way, trying to get one, Well, you know it's something special, and this car really is something special. Let's talk about money after this very large truck goes by. He's going kayaking. Fun. Not as fun as this. Let's talk about the money. $38,000. I think that the one to get is the core model with all of the boxes checked. That will be the most daily drivable friendly model to get because it doesn't have the carbon fiber roof. The carbon fiber roof, cool as it is, probably doesn't feel all that different when you're driving the car, and on top of that, it's just something that I feel like I would have to worry about if this were to be my only car. This is some sort of weekend toy. It's a little bit different of a story, but I buy my cars to use. I would put snow tires on this, drive it through the winter here in Colorado, which I suspect is where it would be the most fun. I would just use the car year round, and it makes more sense to do that. So really, you're looking at a $42,000 car, and for that money, you're well within a shout of the Civic Type R. I think that without having driven the Type R, it's tough to call. This is certainly a more special experience, and I personally like cars that are dominated by their powertrains, cars that offer a very unique experience because of what's under this, good lord, that's hot, hood. So, is the GR Corolla worth it? Yeah, without a doubt. I think that the only real question you have to ask yourself is, which Toyota dealer can you call that won't mark one of these up to the moon? Thank you so much for watching. As always, please do remember to like and subscribe. Everybody says it helps us out, but it really does. It helps you see our posts more, and it helps ensure that we can keep bringing you these videos, keep getting better, keep honing the craft, and doing what we love. And for that, I thank you very much. Until next time, bye.